So, hi everybody, welcome to my channel. I am Juliet and this is Colorful Threads Embroidery. And so, a little history about me. I've been doing embroidery for 21 years. I am a MELCO certified technician and instructor. And my goal is to bring things to you live in a little bit more real setting. The videos that are put out by MELCO are done very good. They're very technical and full of lots of information, but I'm here to give you real world situations and how to actually set up designs for things. And just kind of hang out and have a good time and do some embroidering. So, welcome to the channel. First of all, first thing I want you to do is give me a subscribe if you haven't done so already. Give a thumbs up to the channel if you like what you see. And leave a message in the comments of anything that you want me to cover in a future video. So, with all of that done, we're going to get started with today's content. Yes, Drew, what can I do for you? Sounds good, right? Okay, so the first thing that I want to cover is this really crazy, cool hoop called the Fast Clamp Pro. If you have one of these and you're kind of intimidated or you've had some issues with it, well, we're going to talk about all of the things to make sure that you have it installed properly, put together properly, on your machine and safe running so that you don't have any issues and need to have a service call for one of us to come out. While it's great for me, not so great for you. So, how to prevent all of that stuff, we're going to cover all of that today in this crazy cool hoop. So this is what your box is going to look like when you get this guy and you open it up. There's a lot in here. And I'm going to lose my screws. Here we go. So you're going to need, out of your Allen wrench key set, your 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench, which is the third one up. This is what's going to be key for putting together and taking apart the arms. So get your 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench. You're going to have some spare parts. You're going to have a couple of screws. I think there's 4. I think the new one comes with a couple of extra of the thumb screws, which are what actually mount this to our machine. So there's some extras here. I think I've already taken the second one out of my package. Hi everybody. So we're talking about parts. So this piece is an extra bracket piece. Just hang on to this guy. I haven't had a need for this because I haven't done anything thick enough for it yet, but we're just going to leave it in our piece. We need a couple of these little black screws. So I have those here. Put all my extra screws back in this little compartment. So the first thing you kind of got to figure out is, like, how big of an item are you going to be sewing? The small hoop, which is the, shortest arms that it has, really can only manage about 2 inches in your size of a piece. These arms are very useful for doing, maybe you want to do the strap of some shoes, maybe you want to do a dog collar or a karate belt or something of that nature, something thin strap that you want to do some sewing on. You might use this one. My favorite size seems to be the middle size one, which 4, 5, about 5 inches. It's about 5.5 inch markings is what you get. So you'll get about a 5-inch good hold with that size of hoop. And then there's this really long big arms for doing, I think it's up to 9 inches will let you do. Again, depending on what you're stitching. I was doing a horse blanket, and the logo was big enough to fit in our medium, but where it was attached at the end, because the horse blanket hangs over the edge, was pulling and distorted the top edge of the embroidery. So we had to move to the larger hoop arms so that we didn't get any distortion on top of our embroidery, which is fine. You can have arms bigger than your design, especially when you're dealing with only clamping on the right and the left side, because what you do have just with any hoop is pros and cons. And so the pro is this lets you hoop all of those strange things and get into all the strange places, that you couldn't normally get into with a standard hoop. However, it's only clamping on the right and the left side, so the fabric has to be stable enough to not shift front to back. So that's why this is going to be a really good hoop for things that are pretty stable. Like the fabric I'm going to be sewing on today, I want to put on this little, I have this like baby blanket. It's really small. It's like a 4-foot by 4-foot blanket. But it's kind of thick, so it doesn't hoop very well in my standard hoops. I could use a magnetic hoop, but I actually don't have any of those. So what I do have is the fast clamp. And so we're going to clamp this blanket, and I just want to put the dog's name on here, because this is kind of what I throw down on the ground for the dog to lay on. And it's nice and clean so that I can stitch on it. So we're just going to hoop and do some sewing on this today, because it's just a thick, heavy. If I did 2 layers of this, that's a horse blanket thickness, if you're trying to think about how thick this stuff is. Where's my drink? Coffee. Alright, so how big of a design do you want to do? How big of the hoop arms are you going to do? So, because there's some adjustments to this. There is a top and a bottom to this hoop. There's the bottom arms, and because I know that I'm going to be doing this blanket, it's a little bit thicker, I'm going to do the medium size arms. Like I said, they tend to be my favorite size. And it has a hole and a guide. There's one side of this arm that is slanted, and if you can see right here, there is a slant on the side of this hoop. So if I put this arm on here, even though it fits there and I can screw it in, it doesn't line up. These arcs are not the same. It should go on this side so that that angle is nice and smooth all the way through. That tells me I've got it on the right side. Then I'm going to put my little screw in and just tighten it. You don't have to torque this very hard. You just want it snug so it doesn't vibrate loose. Same thing on this side. I'll get my little cutout lined up, slide it in, make sure that this is aligned so that it's all the same. Put my little screw in, and I'm going to tighten this puppy down. Alright, that's the bottom. Now then, the top arms. The top arms go over this piece here, and they're kind of interchangeable, so you can get these mixed up and it's not a big deal because the markings are on both sides and it could go on either side. So when you put this on, there's a long screw here that's going to actually pull this down, and that serves as your thickness gauge. So the lower this goes, when you have it clamped, the thinner the item is here. So the lower this goes, the thinner your item. So if I was doing a horse blanket, I might leave it pretty wide because I'm going to be clamping something very thick. So this is where you adjust how thick your item is when you're actually putting this on. Since I'm doing this like kids blanket, I'm just going to leave it kind of here, just a small gap. And the outside edges touch. Do the same thing on the other side. Get it on so that it's in place, and then just start screwing it down. I'm going to lower it down so I can kind of see, because I'm kind of looking at the gap here. See what that looks like as it comes down. Make it similar to the other one. The outside is touching. Inside has a little bit of a space, which I think will work just great for this blanket. Okay, now if you use the small arms or the large arms, they're going to install in the exact same manner. Make sure you have this angle on the inside nice and lined up. That is key. Alright, now we're ready to put this on our machine. But my machine is not ready. Just to mount here. Okay, so when you're mounting this thing, we have one screw hole on either side. And we're going to line that up, and it actually lines up with the second hole in your part of the machine here. So I'm going to line it up sort of over the second hole, and just kind of wiggle it around until I find the match of the hole. Get it like screwed in, first stage, screwed in, alright, both in. I'm going to make these guys finger tight, and then we're going to follow the same rule that we always follow when we're putting these screws on. We're going to tighten so they're snug and don't vibrate loose, but we're not going to over tighten these guys because we don't want to break them. So, put the Allen wrench in, and really it's like a 1/8 of a turn, maybe a 1/4 of a turn, and it'll get snug and then just stop. Just don't want it to vibrate loose. Now, the other thing that you want to make sure at all times, your arms are closed. These levers are down, because if you notice when I raise this lever, it's touching my machine here. This is the danger zone. Alright, how can we get this closer? Is that better? Lower. Go. How's that? Is that better? Yeah. So, see how it's touching my grabber blade right here? This part of the arm? This is the danger zone right here. You want to make sure at all times your arm is closed. Because if you turn the machine off and turn it back on, all of these things move. So you don't want anything to hit, cause any damage to your machine. So unless you're putting an item in and taking the item out, these need to always be closed. Closed, 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 closed. Okay, let's see. So, let's go to the computer. We're going to set up a name. And then we're going to figure out if I have these wide enough or not. So I'm going to switch over to screen. We're going to delete that. So I want to make my name so that I can put it on this blanket. That. Center that. And we are gonna, let's pick a font. I really like scripts. I'm a scripty kind of girl, but I also gotta think about this blanket, so we're not gonna spend too much time. Like Brody. See, Brody is just such a good font. Alright, font is ready and it's centered. So this is going to be on a thick blanket, so I'm going to double check my underlays. And right now it is on the auto underlay. Zoom in on my name. It's not quite enough underlay for this blanket. So I want to have a double zigzag. That's much better. Now I have a lot more in here, and I'm going to do an edge block. And let's make that stitch length 25. Percentage. I'm going to do about 80%. It'll go closer to the edge. Zigzag. 80% and 80%. There we go. I think that's because my compensation is changed. No, compensation is fine. Okay. So that looks much, much better for this thick blanket. More underlay. Alright. This back to actual size. And ready to load. Alright. we are working in version 11 of Design Shop. You have this cool new quick button that loads directly to your machine here. If you're using version 10 or lower of Design Shop, you'll have to go to File, Machine, and Load Design in order to send your design to the machine. Alright, we have it in the machine. So, I'm using the simplified interface today. And so what that looks like is pretty much this. You get a full picture of the actual hoop that you're using. My design came in beautifully here, but I have the hoop selected for the wrong size. Now, I'm going to look at my machine physically and see where I'm actually set. And I'm set on an 11. So I'm going to come over to the fast clamp, and I'm going to choose the 11 centimeters wide, which gives me 4.3 inches wide. So now the hoop matches what's on my machine. My name fits within it. So what you're seeing on the screen as well is your small arms come to here. Your medium-sized arms, which is what we have installed, comes to here. And your long arms come down to here. So that's going to tell you how much sewing field you have available here. I'm going to leave my name where it is currently because that's going to work well. I might move it down some just depending on where I end up sewing my name on this blanket. Alright, so if you are not using the advanced or simplified interface, we're going to go back to the advanced interface, which looks like this. And so basically the way you see on the screen, you're just seeing your sew field. This is the edge of the hoop. The dotted line is your sew field. So when you have it selected on the side, this is kind of what it looks like. You have to pick, it's kind of done by inches over here. So just so happens the 4.3 is highlighted. Each one is separate. And you do have to go into your hoop setup and turn them on in this version of the software, which is pretty simple. We're just going to scroll down and we're going to find that Fast Clamp Pro. Here it is, MELCO Fast Clamp. See how it's all in inches? And that's your sewing field inches that are seen. You're not going to find these numbers on the hoop. We just have to be able to double check what you have. So this is what they look like in this software. Your small 1.2 inch, which is the narrow one. That's what I started out with before. And then we have the 3 and 4. So this is what it looks like in here. Alright, I'm going to switch back over to the newer software. Reload. And we're at the 11 centimeter 4.3. Accidentally clicked on it, but there it is. Alright, we've got our name. We're ready. Let's see. We're going to leave my minimum at 7 should be fine. What color do I want? Right now I have a purple. I love purple. We're going to leave purple. And my speed, 1100 should be just fine for what I am sewing today. And it's going to sew pretty quickly. It tells me it's going to be about 3 minutes, really, for a stitch out. So, we're going to switch back over to the camera and get this thing hooped. The tripod camera. Get out my blanket. And I think what I want to do is just put my name like right here on the corner. So, do I want it this way? I think I want it this way. Like that. Alright, so I'm going to open both of my arms so that I can get this blanket in there. And I'm going to go as deep into this as I can and close it down. So what I'm going to do is now I have a line to work with. The blanket has like stitch lines, and so I'm kind of going to go by the stitch line that runs right here across the blanket, and I'm just going to line that up because on the side of this arm I have measurement units, little tick marks every half an inch. So as long as I have the lines on this side the same half an inch as this side, then it's going to sew straight across there. So that's what I'm going to look at now. So I've got this one done, and it seems to pull. So as I'm kind of lining this blanket up, it's moving and shifting in this arm. I don't know if you can see that well or not, but let's see if maybe that helps. Yeah. So see, even though I have this closed, this is still sliding, and I can even pull it straight out, which means I don't have this top arm low enough. So I'm going to open it back up again, slide my piece in, want to get it lined up, close it down. So I'm kind of lined up right here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so, but it's still loose. So now I'm going to take this screw back here and tighten this down while it's clamped. This is going to tighten that down on there, and I'm just going to take the fabric and kind of pull on it just a little bit to see if it moves, and it does not move or shift now. So now I'm ready to go to the other side and line up my other side. Camera, doesn't matter, haha. Okay, so now I'm going to line up this side. So again, I'm looking at my stitching. Going to make sure that I'm lined up at the same line over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. My arm is down. 1, 2. Alright, now I'm going to kind of snug and tighten just until I feel like it doesn't give any more. Out here it doesn't move, in here it doesn't move, and this is all nice and tight. Alright, so move this back over here, maybe like that. How's that? Is that a good view? Okay. That's a good view. Okay, so now I need to find where I'm going to actually sew it. The first thing I'm going to do is a trace, which is hoop and star, and it shows me where I'm going to stitch my name. Maybe I'm going to come up a little bit. I'm going to go up some inch. Right there. Ah, that looks good. So, I don't have any backing under this because it's pretty thick and dense, and I'm doing a very simple design. I'm just doing a name and some lettering. If I was going to be doing a design that had an outline or any kind of details, I'm going to want backing under there. So I'm going to want some kind of tearaway on the bottom, and I would also want solvy on the top of this. You want this to be a sandwich if you're having details with outline. Just a name, we can get away with no backing. And do some stitching. And get a drink of my coffee. My favorite scissors. So I'm going to trim out my thread real quick. just because I like doing it hands-free. That looks very good. Oh, there's one string on the eye. Done. Okay, now I'm going to open my clamp and pull out my beautiful piece. Voila! And the back looks very nice. Easy hooping. Fast clamp roll. Alright, so before I do anything else, I'm going to lay my blanket down and close my arms. Very important, close your arms always. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Alright, here's my ingot. Now it's got my name on it. If I would have, you know, if you pen your design or you mark your center, you'll get it exactly wherever it is that you want it. I'm not a very picky customer. I'm pretty happy. I got my name on my blanket. Alright, okay, so what I did in the software was I made the software reflect the size that I have selected on the actual hoop. But what if you need to adjust your hoop to a different size? Along the front edge of the hoop, and it's pretty easy to see on mine, because mine was one of the earlier models, so this color of the metal is lighter. On the newer ones, they've made this a little bit darker, so you really got to pay attention to the black writing on this front. But you're going to see there is a screw here to loosen, so that this arm moves in and out. Well, how do you know where it is? There are little locator divots on the back, and you can feel and hear when that goes in and out of those divots. So each one has a measurement on this side and on this side, and they need to be the same. So if you're in the inside, number 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 17, and 23. And so basically you'll see that line on the outside of the edge. So 11 is where we had it, 11 is where the other side is. So if I needed this wider, maybe to 17, I come to 17, find my locator pin, make sure it's in the right spot, tighten this one down. Come over to my other side, loosen this, slide it till it locks into the next divot, tighten it down. So when I do this, now it's going to be wider. I would select that in the software. So let's do that. Alright, so over here, see we had it on the 11 centimeter before. I would just change that to the 17. And that's wider. You can see how it goes wider from here to here. And we have a bigger sewing field now. So that's basically how you do that. We got it in the software, and we've got it physically on our hoop the same. Outside marking 17, outside marking 17. Perfect. Alright, so that's how you adjust it and make sure you're aligned properly, and how you're going to So I think today I've covered everything that I wanted to cover, which was all of these strange and bizarre hoops and hooping different odd things. If there's something odd that you have that's coming up in your list of things to do, or something you're wanting to offer to clients, put a comment and let me know what it is, and I'll show you how to get it hooped and on the machine using whatever hoops I have available. So until I see you in 2 weeks, have a fabulous and wonderful day. Have a great and prosperous 2 weeks, and I'll see you back here again soon. Bye for now.